Good evening, everyone. I, on the behalf of entire organizing team, welcome you in the fifth day of seven days International Faculty Development Program on empowering teacher education and technology. I feel honored to present the brief introduction of our today's speaker. Today we have with us Dr. Ajay Kumar, a very dynamic researcher and teacher. Dr. Ajay received his master's and doctorate from National Institute of Technology, Warangal, India. Currently, Dr. Ajay is working as an associate professor in the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, Andhra Lawrence Institute of Engineering and Technology. Ajay has more than 15 years of teaching and research experience in various engineering colleges and universities, which includes 4 years in Adam University, Ethiopia, East Africa. Dr. Ajay is highly cited author and has published more than 15 research papers in national and international journals of repute. Presently, he is working in the domain of HVDC transmission systems, renewable energy sources, and smart grid systems. Dr. Ajay is an active member in Institute of Engineers India and International Association of Engineers USA. He is also an editorial board member and reviewer of various national and international journal of repute. Recently, Dr. Ajay was certified by All India Council of Technical Education AICTE New Delhi as a mentor for technical teachers. I welcome you, sir, in today's first session of 7 days International Faculty Development Program and request you to enlighten our participants with your great exemplary thoughts. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir,
Dr. Ajay,
for your wonderful. I'm very happy to be part of this workshop, 1 week workshop. Hope I am audible to you.
Yeah, audible, sir. Audible. Continue.
Let me share my presentation, sir. Good evening, all of you. So this is Dr. M. Ajay Kumar, Associate Professor of the Department, Andhra Institute of Engineering and Technology, Vijayawada. So today I'm going to explain some of the teaching learning methodologies for quality enhancement. So in this regard, first of all, as a teachers, we should be very happy. Why? Because we can talk to our next generation, right? Who will be having enough provision except teachers? So that's why always, as a should be happy, whatever it may be the situation. All right. Now, slowly for this 45 minutes, explain some of the teaching learning methodologies. So, in connecting to that, we are going from known to unknown slowly. First of all, meant by teaching, a teacher, of course. What is teaching? A teacher is a model, right? So teaching means it is an interactive process of changing something in the learner's behavior, right? That's what teaching. Also, teaching is an art, science, and also it is a skill, right? Then my next question is, are you a good teacher? Are you a good teacher? Since we are teaching old concept, right? Always we are teaching old concept. We are teaching almost 100 to 150 years back concepts, right? Except very few teachers. So are we a good? In what way we can measure teaching otherwise? Yes, yeah, you can become as a good teacher provided if you inspire, motivate, and encourage a new generation learners, then you will be no doubt a role model also, right? Then if you change your role from teacher to guru, then no doubt you will be a good teacher, right? Also, as a teacher, of course, we need a creative mind, listening ear, and strong communication skills. then no doubt we will be like a good teacher. So that's what a teacher should have: creative proficiency, then precise attitude like a scientist, then like a craftsman, we should have perfect skill set, right? Then we will be like a good teacher. Then what are the teacher activities? As a teacher, you can share your experiences. What is your activities otherwise as a school teacher or as a lecturer or as a associate professor? Teacher. So as a teacher, what are the activities? No doubt. In the general perception, what is that? A teacher means he will teach or he will work for a class, and that too he will teach only academic content, right? This is what the general perception. But we know what are the activities, right? Always our teachers are engaged with a lot of activities, like explaining activities means lecturing, that is our primary activity, of course. Then demonstration activities, if at all laboratories, then we have to demonstrate experiments, right? Then guidance activities means mentoring activity. For, of course, I don't know how many of you are having that kind of system, but mentoring system is there in our college. So for each and every faculty, of course, 20 students will be there. So for these 20 students, daily he has to monitor their presentation or whatever it may be, daily skill set. So that is what the guidance activities. Then record keeping activities means we have to maintain one separate registers and separate records for like NAC and NBA activities, accreditation purpose, and all these things we have to maintain proper record, right? So that is also activity of teacher. Then assignment making activity. Daily we have to make some assignments, proper assignments. We have to plan properly. Then we have to give it to our students as a homework, right? All these things. Then curriculum planning activities. If at all your organization is an autonomous organization, then you will be having that kind of chance. Like you have to develop, you have to plan the curriculum, maybe your degree curriculum or your school or college, right? So curriculum, maybe whatever may be the course. So curriculum planning activities also our teachers are always engaged. Then finally, testing and evaluation activities means we have to conduct exams, right? Then we have to evaluate that answer scripts, everything, and we have to give the grading and all these things. So in all these activities, our teachers are always engaged, right? Now we'll see basic teaching model. Of course, as a teacher, you should know this is the very famous teaching model, So this teaching model consists of four components, instructional objectives, academic behavior, instructional procedure, and performance assessment, right? So in that, instructional objectives are always those objectives the student attain upon completion of a segment or module. That's what instructional objectives. Generally, it will be like the student will be able to do something at the end of this module. So the instructional objectives will be. So these instructional objectives we will frame before commencement of the classwork. We will give it to the students, right? Instructional objectives means before in the lesson plan. Generally, we will introduce these instructional objectives. Then second component is entering behavior. Entering behavior means this component always describes the student's level before instruction begins. Means what about the student's knowledge, whether he has proper prerequisites for this module or not. So all these things means what the student has previously learned, right? His intellectual ability, development, and motivational state also, right? So all things will come into second component, entering behavior. Then third component is instructional procedures. This component plays a crucial role, of course. Instructional procedure means teaching method, teaching method. So generally, what I mean to say is selection of the method and proper management of this component generally will result effective learning. Of course, that we will call it as achievement. So if you want to achieve or if you want to reach your learning outcomes, you have to plan proper instructional method, right? Of course, that's what we are going to discuss in future. Then the fourth component is performance assessment. Performance assessment, of course, this component consists of tests and observations which are used to determine how well the student has achieved the objectives. Means completely evaluation process. Performance assessment means, right? So finally, all these four components will make a good teaching model. All right. So as a teacher, we should follow this kind of teaching model. Now we'll see principles of teaching and learning. So there are 10 to 11 principles are there. We'll see one by one. Active participation. Active participation means, as a teacher, of course, you have to make sure that your students are participating actively in your lecture. For that, what are the steps you have to take? So you have to plan it properly, then you have to execute in your classroom. So that's what active participation. Then second one is known to unknown. Known to unknown means, that's what, whenever we are beginning a new concept, suppose new concept, then always what they know to what they don't know, right? So if you provide real life examples, then it will be very interesting for the students, right? So from known to unknown, we have to go slowly so that student will catch you. At any kind of student, means maybe below average student also, if you teach from known to unknown, he will be more interesting in learning, and also he will reach the complete learning outcomes. Third principle is clarity of objectives. Clarity of objectives. So in that, as a teacher, always you should have more clarity on the subjects, right? Subject, and also you have to predefine the objectives. So you should have more clarity, like how to reach your objectives, means how to plan your teaching methodology. So that's what you have to plan it. So if you have more clarity on your objectives for a particular teaching module, then you can plan your teaching methodology, right? And everything you can maintain it properly. So that's what clarity of objectives. That's what third principle, right? Then fourth one is knowledge of results about performance. So the student always should be provided information about his performance from time to time, right? So that he or she will be able to know what they stand, where they stand, right? So that's what we have to provide always, knowledge of results about performance. Means always daily feedback you have to provide for your students, so that yeah, you are good, you have to improve your performance, like that kind of feedback if you provide, then student today he will do something and tomorrow he may not repeat that same mistake, and he will correct all the lessons, right? So that kind of principle also very important. Then fifth one is motivated learner. Motivated learner always learns most, right? Means students, as a student, always they will expect more and more motivation. They will expect motivation from the faculty, right? So always as a teacher, you have to provide enough motivation to your learners about why they have to learn that particular concept or module. So that kind of motivation, generally you can give some examples, some practical examples. So of course this lesson is, of course, this kind of differential equation approach. Suppose in the ISRO, while making that satellite, means while finding the motion of the satellite, they are using this kind of differential equation approach only. So that kind of practical examples if you give, automatically your student will be motivated about that concept, then definitely they will listen, they will show more interest on the particular class, right? Then sixth one is transfer of learning. So transfer of learning means here also, as a teacher, always you should ensure whatever is taught in the class, which is useful to them in the laboratory, any workplace. So such kind of thing, transfer of learning, right? Transfer of learning, whatever the concepts you taught in your lecture, so the same concepts, it should be applicable, it should be useful in their laboratories or any workplace. They should be in a position to have that kind of learning outcomes. So that's what transfer of learning. Then seventh one is appealing to many senses. Appealing to many senses. For this, yeah, as a teacher, of course, we have to avoid monotony in teaching. Monotony means complete repetitions, right? Or such kind of things, same pitch or whatever it may be. Such kind of monotony we have to avoid. So the student in your class should be allowed to use all his senses like listening, writing or reading. Is it right? Or some kind of seminars you have to accept, you have to allow them, so that they will be using all kind of senses. That's what the meaning. The eighth one is congenial atmosphere. So as a teacher, here also you should provide a congenial atmosphere to the students. As we know, student will be interested in class of pleasant teacher. So you should be so pleasant and you should be so friendly, so that you can create that kind of atmosphere in your class, and then students will get more interest in your lecture, right? Then ninth one is repetitive practice. Repetitive practice. So here also, in your class, suppose always you have to provide enough repetitive practice for lessons, or in terms of maybe in terms of text, means what we call exams or lab demos or some kind of assignments, whatever it may be. So that kind of repetitive practice, if at all you are doing in your lecture, then student will get the objectives of that module. Then 10th one is learning and under control of reward. So here, reward, always we have to encourage our students, right? Means as a teacher, always we have to provide a good feedback to our students on their success. Maybe sometimes they will expect some prize or some appreciation letters. So that also, if you provide, they will be more happy, and in that way you can encourage your students. Last one is relevant knowledge. Of course, this is what the ultimate point, relevant knowledge. Finally, we are the teachers. We should have, we should provide relevant knowledge on the particular module. Then only you will be a good teacher, and your students will, students are interested to come to your class, right? Provided if you give that kind of, if you have that kind of knowledge on the particular concept, and if you are in a position to explain each and everything clearly, right? So these are the principles of teaching and learning. Of course, almost all these principles, so we are applying in the teaching learning methods. We'll see, of course. Now we'll see teaching learning process. So as Dr. Sister Candy might have told yesterday about these concepts, generally learning will be in three domains. Learning will be in three domains, like cognitive domain, affective domain, and psychomotor domain, right? So in the cognitive domain, always this cognitive domain introduces are like knowing and intellectual skills. Of course, it is given here how to understand particular concept, or how to solve a particular problem, or how to derive a formula, and where to apply this concept. This kind of questions, this kind of concepts will come into cognitive domain, right? The second domain is affective domain. So affective domain means it is related to feelings like values or attitudes or interest and discipline. So student will be developed all these kind of feelings. So that's what affective domain. Whereas in the psychomotor domain, means doing kind of doing activities like practical skill set, or suppose driving a car, or assembling a motor, or painting or drawing, such kind of events. So these kind of points all will come under psychomotor domain. Psychomotor domain. So all these three domains learning will take place. So this kind of you have to decide whether your concept, your module is related to domain or affective domain or psychomotor domain. So based on that, you have to plan your teaching learning methodologies. So this is what the teaching learning process. Now we will see some of the teaching learning methods which we can implement easily. So that's what I have chosen. So many teaching learning methodologies are available, but out of those methods, I have selected these six modules. So we can implement it easily in our lectures. So first one is attention, relevance, confidence, and satisfaction model. Second one is flipped classroom. Third one is student team achievements division. Fourth one is think, pair, share activity. Fifth one is open book exam activity. Then sixth one is technology enabled learning. Of course, ICT based. So we will see one by one. First one is ARCS model, means attention, relevance, confidence, and satisfaction model. So this method was, of course, introduced by John Keller. So as per John Keller, there are 4 steps in this instructional design process. So first one is attention. So attention means, as we have seen already in the principles of teaching learning methodologies, always we have to make sure that your learners, your students are more attentive and more interested in your class. So like that, you have to create the atmosphere, right? So that's what attention. Then the relevance. Relevance describes how the knowledge will help the learners for today and in the future. That's what, how the subject or how the particular concept, particular module is relevant to the present scenario or in future. So that kind of examples if you give, people will be more interested. Then third point is confidence. So learning design enhances the students' confidence with a method for estimating the probability of success. So student after learning that, after your lecture, they should, yeah, this concept. So like that they have to feel. So we have to create such kind of environment in class. Fourth point is satisfaction. Learners obtain some kind of satisfaction from the learning experience. It can be in the form of sense of achievement. So satisfaction, that's what we have to provide. We have to encourage our students by providing some kind of prize or some kind of reward or some kind of appreciation letters. So if you display their names in the notice board, it will be good. Like that, such kind of things if you provide, that will come under satisfaction category. So all these 4 steps will come under this ARCS model, which we can implement easily, of course, in our daily lectures, these kind of things. In fact, we are following. So simple case study, we did some case study. So with respect to this ARCS model, of course, I belongs to electrical engineering. So I have taken one course, power electronics course. So in that, first I took a component like attention component. So attention means what makes more interesting about this concept. So that in that aspect, we have to create something in our class. So for that, simple examples. So first, what we have to do, we have to give some brainstorming session. Like you can ask some questions based on prerequisites required for that concept. Suppose like that, you can ask some questions, or otherwise you can give some practical examples so that student will get more interest on your lecture. If you give practical example, so and so in the racket making, we are using this kind of technology or something like that. So if you give some kind of practical examples or industry-oriented examples, maybe it is related to your concept. I don't know. It is related to my concept I'm telling. So like that, we can give some examples or some kind of practical examples, means which we are using in our daily life, the real-time examples, or you can say. So such kind of examples if you give, then students will be more interesting. Then also any videos, if you show any video beforehand, so that be more interested. Okay, they will be knowing all the entire concept now, so that's why they will be more interested in your lecture. So in the attention component, we can follow these kind of points, so that student, you can draw more attention. Then relevance means, why should I study this concept? So that's what student point of view question. So then for the in order to answer this kind of question with the student's mind, we can make this kind of actions, some practical applications. So how is it relevant to some practical applications? You can explain. Then some goal-oriented students will be there, like extraordinary students. So for them, we can explain like this kind of examples we'll ask in the MSET exam, right? Like GATE exam, like such kind of research activities. They may explain, they may ask such kind of research activities. For that kind of things, if you teach, then students, maybe goal-oriented students, they may attract your class. Is it right? So that kind of things also you can explain. Then scope of designing own converters. So this kind of things, some people are more interested on doing something immediately, they are ready to do something. So for such kind of students, you can explain how to make certain product. So that kind of things also you can give some examples. Then the scope and you can also explain by studying this kind of concept, or by studying this kind of what we call module, or this kind of group engineering course. Then one of our ex-students, like he is working in ISRO or some other industry, like that. Practical examples with respect to your college, if you give, also students will get more interest. Such kind of things, right? All these things will come under relevance concept. Then confidence means student should feel like I can do it, like that they have to feel after attending your lecture. So for that, what are the steps we have to take? First we have to give some motivation means, yeah, by studying this concept, so one of our, he has gone to some kind of industry, he is getting so and so, like that. That kind of motivation you can give it on the particular module. Then also feedback, you can, if you provide feedback, means of course in our campus we have that mentoring system, so that we can identify slow learners. So for that kind of slow learners, we can provide, or we can take some special care, so that they can improve their performance, right? Then also we can conduct some group activities, so that their confidence levels increase. If you provide group activities among that student community, then their confidence levels also will increase. So I can write this exam, or I can attempt this question, so like that they will feel. So this is about confidence component. Then finally, last component is satisfaction component. So satisfaction means, yeah, I have learned something new, and which I can apply in so and so application. So like that, they have to get satisfaction. So for that, what we have to do? So outstanding performance students, always we have to appreciate them, like by giving some rewards or some kind of appreciation letters, or simply we can put their names in our notice boards, so that they will be more happy and they will be satisfied. Right? So that kind of thing also we have to do in our lectures. So this is what the ARCS model. So finally, what are the outcomes of this learning activity, teaching activity? So finally, what we have noticed is our students, they are in a position to ask relevant questions on the topic. Relevant questions on the topic they are asking. Even below average student also is ready to ask some kind of question. If you want to express something with respect to that question. Why? Because all these are like a group activity. So that's why they will show some interest in knowing various applications of a particular concept. So that also they are asking, they are posing some interest. Then they are showing some confidence and interest and implementing particular concept in some other software or some other thing. They are, or otherwise they want to apply the concept that what they have learned. So they are in a position to apply in somewhere. So that's what we have seen, that kind of advantages by ARCS model. Now the second method is flipped classroom. In fact, this flipped classroom is very interesting. Of course, yesterday Sister Candy might have touched about this flipped classroom. I don't know. So flipped classroom means, of course, this kind of method was introduced by two high school teachers in the University of Colorado. Two high school teachers have introduced this concept. They applied this concept initially, and present means state of the art means present literature states that always almost Canada, Asia, and Australia also, they are using this kind of flipped classroom concept in the academics. So here there are three activities. Of course, our entire traditional classroom will be flipped with three activities. One is pre-class activity, in-class activity, and post-class activity. Pre-class, in-class, and post-class activities. So entire traditional classroom will be flipped into three categories, three activities: pre-class activity, in-class activity, and post-class activity. So in the pre-class activity, of course, based upon your learning domain, so you can give some videos beforehand, or you can give some lecture material to your students before commencement of your class. That will come under pre-class activity. Then after that, in-class activity, the students listen and watch lecture videos before the class session, and in-class time will be utilized to engage students using a variety of classroom activities. So entire in-class time will be used to contact or to introduce some concepts, some new concepts, or some kind of activity you can conduct it. Because already you have given the material what is required for your class, corresponding video or corresponding text material. So entire class time will be engaged like with some group activities or group discussions or some kind of quiz exam like that. So this is what in-class time. In-class time will be utilized properly. So active learning will take place, this kind of method, right? So why? Because student knows something regarding that particular day. So he will be more active. In class, right? So then post class, what we have to do? So in order to assess the attainment of the learning outcomes, always online quizzes or activities can be integrated for effective student learning, right? So this kind of things we can implement. We can give as assignment. Of course, post class activity means one assignment also you can give, or you can ask some discussion forum. You can create one discussion forum so that you can ask one question and you can ask them to participate actively. So after class, so such kind of activities we can conduct in the flipped classroom. So of course, the other name is micro teaching, flipped classroom or other micro teaching. So here I'll give you a plan for the flipped classroom. So suppose I took one concept. So for that, I gave one objective and pre-class activity. As a pre-class activity, I gave particular textbook and also some video related to that particular concept. Then even text material also, PPT, PowerPoint presentation material also I gave them. So then finally in the in-class, if you observe, clearly you can explain or you can ask what are the prerequisites for that particular concept, then you can give 30 minutes presentation or 30 minutes explanation. Then you can give some time for some kind of activity like a poll activity or discussion forum like that. Then you can summarize all the points. Then you can give 5 to 10 minutes for doubts clarification. So like that you can plan your 60 minutes class time in class time, right? Then post class activities. So for the post class activity, of course you have to formulate one learning outcome particular for this particular concept for that particular day. Then in order to reach that learning outcome, what are the things required? You have to plan it properly. You can open one discussion forum and you can ask them to discuss, or otherwise you can give one assignment, right? Or you can conduct some online quiz exams, depends upon your provision. So like that you can plan post class activity for day 1. Similarly for day 2 also you can give some kind of video lecture or some kind of case study, and you can revise the concept for 10 minutes, and after that you can present the next concept, and you can give some time for quiz. You can conduct quiz on that, or you can conduct one small exam. Like that you can assess the in-class time, in-class activity also you can assess on the same day. Then how to implement, how to reach the learning outcome, you can give some kind of activity in the post class. So post class, so you can give some kind of implementation or some kind of review. You can ask them to write review, right? Such kind of activity you can plan. So this is what the course plan, day plan for the flipped classroom. So then what are the outcomes or what are the benefits of the flipped classroom? So here the benefits are control of learning is given to the students and the teacher functions as a facilitator. See here, entire concept we have given it beforehand, before commencement of the class already we have given the concepts. So control of learning is given to the students. It all depends upon the student interest. You can learn up to end, right? So the teacher functions just like a facilitator, and if at all any doubts are there, you can clarify in your in-class time, and you can ask them. If at all students are not in active mode, suppose, then you can create some kind of discussion forum in the class time, in-class time itself, so that the below average student also can will be interested on that particular topic, right? So they can get good outcome. Second advantage is higher order skills get developed. Why? Because already everything is self-learned. So class time will be increased. Why? Because beforehand we have given. So class time will be, instead of 1 hour, it will be like 2 hours, 3 hours time, like that. So because of that, thinking skills will be developed, right? Then efficient learning happens as more of the contents are self-learned. So students on their own, on their free time, they are learning all the concepts and they are clarifying their doubts during class. So efficient learning takes place, no doubt at all, by flipped classroom. Then fourth advantage, if you observe, affective domain outcomes get developed due to greater collaborative learning. Here, affective domain outcomes. What are the affective domain outcomes? Like feelings, attitudes, right? So that kind of things. So because of this collaborative learning, in class time will be collaborative learning only. So because of that, affective domain outcomes get developed, no doubt at all. So how to behave, all these things, their attitude levels, everything will be different. Last advantage, if you observe, because of this flipped classroom, appropriate use of resources by the teacher for constructive learning methods. See, here we are giving some material which is available in the online, right? Maybe YouTube video, or some kind of NPTEL videos or NCERT material, whatever it may be. So appropriate use of resources. So usage of resources will be increased, both by the teacher as well as by the student also, right? So student will get more benefited because of this kind of material. We are providing high amount of material for the same concept. We are providing more material. Means that's what the benefit of flipped classroom. So these are the benefits of the flipped classroom. Next, third one is student team achievement division, STAD. Here, students are assigned to 4-member learning teams that are mixed in performance level, gender, and ethnicity. Means, irrespective of their grade point and irrespective of their gender or ethnicity, we are dividing the entire classroom into like teams, maximum of 4 members in each team. So like that, we are dividing the team, and the teacher presents a lesson, and then students work within their teams to make sure that all team members have mastered in the task. So you can give the lecture, so students are already divided into number of teams, so they will work like up to all the students of the team are getting the particular concept. So like that they will work. So that can methodology it is student team achievement division. So up to their achievement, that entire team will work. So if that is the case, this is also like a collaborative learning only. Collaborative learning means learning, of course. Then similar kind of advantages also we can get by using this student team achievement division. So benefits, if you observe, students work together in achieving the objectives, then actively assist and motivate students to succeed in a shared way, of course, and interaction among students with increasing their ability to argue. So among students, interaction will be more since it is a collaborative learning. So this kind of advantages, similar kind of advantages, we can get it by this kind of method also easily we can incorporate in our daily lectures. Then the fourth one is think, pair, share activity. Think, pair, share activity. This is also a simple methodology, teaching methodology. Of course, it has 3 phases, of course. First one is in the first phase, think phase. Think phase, always faculty poses a question to which students individually write their answers. So we will give one question to our entire classroom, and each and every student will come with their own answers. Then we will ask them to pair. Students work on a well-defined task with their neighbors. So we'll ask them to pair, or we will give the chance, or forcibly we can pair either 2 or 3 members like that, one team like that only here also. Then we can ask them to share. Share means whatever you have written, whether it is correct or not, we can discuss and we can come with the proper answer. So that's what. Then each group again, they will share their information. Here students engage in discussion and sharing their answers and reasoning with alternative solutions. So here they will share whatever they know. They will come and they will go to the dais and they will share their information so that we can know, and all people, they can know the correct answers. Correct or not, we can judge, and even students also, they may get a lot of concepts. Why? Because each and every pair is going to share their own answers. So a lot of things will come into picture. Then goals of the think, pair, share activity, if you observe, but the main objective is to activate students' prior knowledge. Students' prior knowledge means what are the prerequisites, whether he knew that concept or not, he knew that prerequisite formulas or whatever it may be. So that things, whether we can judge, and we can activate students' prior knowledge. We can ask them to present. So in the share activity, we are asking them to share. So we can know easily. Then to enhance their oral communication skills. So each and every pair is going to share their activity. So automatically, no doubt, their communication skill set will be improved. Then to make students as active learners, means if at all they are participating actively in the class, then no doubt entire class will be more active and students will get. So after conducting this activity, we have conducted one survey among that 60 members class. Then based on one concept, what is that? I enjoy sharing my thoughts and observations during my class discussion. So I enjoy sharing my thoughts and observations during my class discussion. So this is the point. So based on this point, we have conducted one survey, and finally, we can observe here the blue color lines are before conducting this activity, and this red color lines are after conducting this activity, post activity survey and pre activity survey. So if you observe, most of them they have agreed after conducting the survey, after conducting this activity, most of the people, 11 members almost, they have agreed strongly. They have agreed 8 people. What is that statement is, I enjoy sharing my thoughts and observations during my class. So this is the only one point we have done one survey. Similarly, I feel confident in my abilities in a particular subject. So based on this point also, again we have conducted the same kind of survey. Then it is proved that post-class survey, post-activity survey is better than pre-activity survey. So this blue color is pre-activity. So more number of students, I feel confident, slightly agree, but agree and strongly agree if you observe, they are more in number. Post-class survey, post-activity survey if you observe. So like that, we got some observations after conducting this method. Then fifth one is open book examination. So most of you are aware about this open book examination. No doubt here, generally we are conducting closed book examination, but occasionally if you conduct this kind of open book examination, so in that open book examination, students, they can refer their lecture notes or summaries or any kind of textbooks related to particular subject or any kind of approved material during that exam, open book exam. So they will be more interesting occasionally if you conduct this kind of exam, open book exam. So based on this methodology also, we have conducted small survey to an exam, and the results are like this. So evaluation parameters, if you observe, the minimum mark while conducting closed book, and after 1 week we have conducted open book exam. So in the closed book exam, the minimum mark is 15, but in the open book exam, minimum mark is 22. Similarly, maximum mark for open book closed book exam 43, but open book exam increased to 47 out of 50. So like that, mean value, good improvement we have seen. So open book exam, so no doubt they will get a lot of inputs from the textbook, and also in the degree courses, if you observe nowadays, students are not at all interested to open their notebooks. They are following some kind of material or some kind of lecture notes or some kind of Xerox material, all these things. But if at all you are encouraging this kind of thing, then they may they may buy the textbooks and they may open the textbooks. Such kind of thing also we can inculcate in our course. Then sixth one is technology enabled learning. Technology enabled learning. Of course, this kind of teaching methodology, of course, because of Corona, we are doing always nowadays ICT based methods. So LMS tools such as Moodles or virtual labs or Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams, you can use it for distance mode, or even Google Classroom. Suppose Google Classroom if you take, so here we can give assignments and you can conduct exams also, you can assess through online, right? So everything, so you can use the technology. And for high schools or for colleges, intermediate level, up to intermediate level, we can use this kind of online platforms like ABC Mouse platform or Adventure Academy or Mathseeds or Byju's, etc. What we know. So these kind of online platforms also very useful for technology enabled learning methodology. So these kind of methods, of course, you might have seen in the Dr. Anand Kumar lecture, and of course the next resource person also giving based on this ICT tool only. So that's why I don't want to elaborate more and more. So with this, I can conclude my presentation. Thank you very much. So if you have any questions, I'm very happy to answer.
Any questions from participants' side?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, tell me, sir.
Am I sir? Hello.
Hello. Yeah, tell me, sir.
Sir, in one of the slides, the name of the headline is case study for electronics course.
In which slide, sir?
Sir, I think slide number 4 or 5.
Okay.
The name of the slide, the headline of the slide is case study for electronics course.
Line is?
Sir, headline of the slide is case study and then power electronics course.
Okay. A study power electronics course, right? Tell me, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, in this slide, the illustration was like this. To draw the person's attention, the class is started with brainstorming sessions by posing questions on AC supply, DC supply.
Your voice is not clear, sir. It is breaking. You are not audible to me, sir. I'm not getting your question. In this slide? Hello, sir. Hello. Are you getting my voice, sir?
Hello, sir.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Sir, I
Can you repeat it?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, in that very slide, the information of slide was just like that. To draw the learner's attention,
Yeah.
the class is started with brainstorming sessions by posing questions on AC supply, DC supply, sir.
Yeah.
So then R equal to load, R dash F equal to
Yeah.
please comment on the AC supply, DC or R.
Yeah. So this is related to my
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
This is related to my subject actually, AC/DC converters. The topic, the lecture topic is AC/DC converters. So before that, what is AC supply? What is DC supply? What is like resistance load, or what is resistance inductance load? RL load means resistance inductive load. Like that, such kind of questions means some prerequisites for studying this concept. So whether they have some basic knowledge or not. So such kind of questions only we are asking in the class. Is it your doubt, sir?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Any questions from the participants?
Any questions from participants side? If no questions, thank you, sir, for such a nice talk. Let me introduce to you our next session speaker, Professor P.M. Parsuna. Am I audible?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your wonderful
Thank you,
opportunity. Yeah, yeah. Also, to the participants also, thank you very much for your patience and interest. Thank you.